Welcome back to the South African Morning. Now, what happens to lobola in the case of divorce in customary marriage? Well, as we continue marking Heritage Month, we're exploring cultural customs. So, do you get your lobola back if the marriage fails? And what are the legal implications? Let's unpack that now with Melusi Xulu from Donda Attorneys. Melusi, many thanks for your time this morning. I think it's a very straightforward question. Do you get your lobola back should the marriage end? But there are a lot of complexities that we need to consider here.
Yes, good morning to you at the studio and to everyone at the studio, and good morning to the viewers. Look, first of all, we have Rofhiwa a new act called the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act of 1998. It doesn't specify what happens to lobola, but what is very important that I would like to let the viewers know is that the act says that if you want to get a divorce, you must get a divorce at a divorce court, and you must get a divorce decree. But then what happens to lobola is that you will look at the way it's done traditionally. For example, you will look at how many children were born of the marriage, and you'll also look at the amount of lobola that was paid, and you'll also look at who was at fault for the breakdown of the marriage. So you look at those facts first before it's decided that what amount of lobola will be returned and why. For example, before we move on maybe to the next question, if maybe it's the husband who's at fault, he will forfeit the return of lobola, but maybe he might get some back, but he will forfeit the return of lobola. If maybe it's the wife, for example, according to tradition, she committed adultery, then they will have to return the lobola back. Or if someone wants to get married to her, they will have to pay that lobola to the first family if she was at fault. So there's a lot of history and tradition, but I wonder if some of it will pass the constitutional muster, because we're now living under the new constitutional dispensation.
Right, and after we've looked at all these considerations in terms of who was at fault, how many children are in the marriage, or what was accumulated in terms of assets, how do we go about the process of then returning the lobola?
What happens, I suppose the families will have a meeting, but what I've seen in the Act, it says when there is a divorce, in Section 8, the courts will consider also having traditional experts or traditional leaders who know about the custom, so that they can be assisted, because it's something that is not usual in our law, in modern law, so to speak, but it's something that was done in the traditional law. So this is something that must be considered to say, can a traditional leader assist? Because if you look at another case, which is I found interesting, a Temsile and another, it's a 2002 case. It stated that the return of lobola shows that the divorce is being done. So it's important to look at, but like I say, there are considerations to be made. You don't just return the whole lobola. You look at the fault base, or you look at how many children are born, and then some of it will be returned, and some of it will also not be returned. For example, if also the husband is the one who's at fault, definitely he will forfeit the lobola. He won't get back.
Very interesting insights there, and I just want to get a sense from you then, as we wrap up the conversation, how important is lobola when it comes to a marriage, and then of course ending the marriage, concluding a marriage and handing everything back, the significance of that? Okay,
I'll start with one of the sections I like to discuss when I'm talking about customary marriage. There's a section in the Customary Marriages Act, or the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act, that says in Section 3, subsection 1, paragraph B, for a marriage to be done in a customary manner, it must be negotiated and entered or celebrated with accordance to customary law. Now, it doesn't say specifically that lobola must be done, but case law has said that if we consider in customary marriage, it's expected that lobola must be there. So lobola can be cash or it can be castle. But here's the difficulty, Rofhiwa, that I'd like us to look at. The difficulty is that nowadays it's paid in cash. And if you pay cash to your or to the family of the lady that you're in love with, that money sometimes is used for the very same wedding that you will be attending as the groom. So is it fair to want to return back the money that assisted you at that time? So it will depend on the facts. But the importance of ilobolo is that it makes the marriage to be legitimate, to be stable. One of the authors has said the primary function of ilobolo is that it transfers the reproductive capacity of the lady or the woman to show that she's come to help the family grow. So there's a lot of things that it just signifies that the customary marriage is indeed coming into reality.
Very interesting insights there, opening up a can of worms for many, I would assume. Melusi Xulu, attorney at Donda Attorneys, breaking down customary marriage and what happens within customary marriage when you decide to split